What's going on, guys? Not a happy video today, but I feel a practical one because there's a lot of misconceptions about nuclear war and what it's like. And you may be wondering how it has not occurred yet. And we are tremendously fortunate that that has not been the case. And every day that we have food available to eat is a day we should be grateful for. One of the main reasons that we have not seen nuclear war yet is because of the reptilian king himself, Osiris, showing restraint for a good reason. He does not want to destroy his slave farm. He wants to have a more streamlined, slower transition into a slave grid that has been talked about for years, and people already know what that is. In addition to that, he wants to get as many people into the silver pods as possible, regardless of presumed terrestrial conditions on Earth, surface conditions, or not. Even if things are perfect on the surface, if Osiris reigns and he maintains power, he will receive just that. A technocratic slave grid society that he cherishes and values the human population because we are because we are his branded cattle. Now, what the danger zone is, though, is that if he basically thinks that he can stop Horus right now. And because of that false assumption, he thinks that he can hold on to his branded slaves that he branded with the jab. Once he realizes that this is not possible, that he will come no matter what, and he cannot stop him, that is the most dangerous point right there. Because he'll be backed into a corner, and he will do spellcasting through the minds of world leaders that will render them total puppets and do the absolutely unthinkable. So we will have to be dealing with that and the solar flare. Two mega disasters of apocalyptic proportions. Now, this is all speculation, though. Remember, people of the New Earth trying to stop it, okay? I'm just going to read you the article as an encouragement for you to be as prepared as you can be for this possibility. This is by the Economic Collapse blog by Michael Snyder. Can you imagine what it would be like to literally starve to death? Most Americans believe that if a nuclear war with Russia actually happens, the vast majority of the US population would instantly be wiped out. That is not what science says. What studies have shown is that only about 20% of the US population will be instantly killed during the nuclear exchange. If you live near a military base or some highly strategic target, you'll probably be among the 20%. Otherwise, it is likely that you will starve to death during the horrifying nuclear winter that follows. A brand new study that was released concluded that the average global temperatures would immediately drop by a whopping 13 degrees following a full-blown nuclear exchange. Firestorms would release ash and smoke into the upper atmosphere that would block out the sun, resulting in crop failure around the world, according to researchers from Louisiana State University. In the first month, Following these catastrophic detonations, average global temperatures would plunge by about 13 degrees Fahrenheit more than during the most recent ice age. With much less sunlight reaching the Earth, the food chains in our oceans would collapse very rapidly. The sudden drop in light and sea temperatures, especially from the Arctic to the North Atlantic and North Pacific, would kill algae, the bedrock of marine food web. Researchers said that fishing and aquaculture would be halted by the creation of essentially a famine in the ocean. As the average temperatures plummeted, very little would be able to be grown for an extended period of time. Since the US and Russia are both in the northern hemisphere, the northern half of the globe would be affected much more than the southern half of the globe. Keep that in mind with the solar event too. Why do you think all these rich people are going south of the equator, like New Zealand? This is the reason. One study was conducted in 2019, determined that temperatures in Iowa would ultimately stay below 0 degrees Celsius, 0 degrees Celsius for 730 days in a row. Wow. Massive drop in temperature follows, with the weather staying below freezing throughout the subsequent northern hemisphere summer. In Iowa, for example, the model shows temperatures staying below 0 degrees for 730 days straight. There is no growing season. This is a true nuclear winter. Nor is it just a short blip. Temperatures still drop below freezing in summer for several years thereafter. And global precipitation falls by half by years 3 and 4. It takes over a decade for anything like climatic normality to return to the planet. Since so little food would be grown during this period of time, we would see the starvation in northern hemisphere on a cataclysmic scale. In the 4400 warhead, 150 megaton nuclear war scenario, averaged over the subsequent 5 years, China sees a reduction in food calories of 97%, France by 97.5%, and Russia by 99.7%, the UK by 99.5%, and the US by 98.9%. In all these countries, virtually everyone who survived the initial blast would subsequently starve. So you can see why I'm so passionate about avoiding a nuclear war. The Russians can see where the proxy war in Ukraine is heading, and they are sounding the alarm. This week, Dmitry Medvedev warned that the conflict potentially poses a threat to the existence of humanity. Former Russian president on Wednesday warned the U.S. trying to punish Russia for its war in Ukraine, saying that doing so would risk humanity since Moscow has the world's largest nuclear arsenal. The idea of punishing a country that has one of the largest nuclear potentials is absurd. It potentially poses a threat to the existence of humanity. Here in the United States, there are a handful of politicians that are speaking out rationally about this war. One of them is Marjorie Taylor Greene. The American people do not want war with Russia, but NATO and our own foolish leaders are dragging us into one. We should pull out of NATO, said right-wing Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene in a Twitter post on Thursday. Okay. Basically, let me skip that part. Vladimir Putin has staged nuclear drills with his road-launched intercontinental Yars missiles in the forests in western Siberia. The 7,500-mile range of missiles means they would be capable of striking Britain or anywhere in Europe. Meanwhile, the most recent missile launch exploded just 11 seconds after launch in the U.S. A test missile launched from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California exploded seconds after being fired late Wednesday night. The Minotaur 2 space launch vehicle exploded approximately 11 seconds after launching. The U.S. desperately needs to develop new systems because right now Minuteman missiles that went back in service in the 1970s still form the backbone of our strategic nuclear arsenal. And blah, 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 basically. I don't know, like, is it even feasible to prepare for that? a 99% reduction in calories. I mean, you would have to have years, years of preparation, really. I mean, I got maybe a year maximum with what I have. So it's something to think about because being in a battle between one asshole god and another asshole god, we are like their expendable pawns to them. So don't think that this can't happen. Don't think that.